Dear listeners, today I want to make you think of a picture. Like, picture this. You spend decades perfecting your craft, building something that works, something people respect, and then one day you walk away from it all to chase something wider, something harder to measure, not because you failed, but because success stopped being enough. That moment, that choice, it says something about what we are really hungry for underneath all the doing and the providing and the constant motion forward. So, welcome back. I'm your host, Avik, and you are listening to My Needs Machine, where we slow down enough to ask the questions that matter. And today I'm speaking with someone, a very, really lovely person. Please welcome Michael J. Riso. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Avik.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today. And dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I quickly love to introduce you to Michael. So he's a professional golf coach turned full-time writer who left a thriving business to explore what it actually means to live with joy at the center. So I'm not going to take much of a time. Let's get started. So Michael, I mean, a lot of people think that joy is something that you earn after you have achieved enough or fixed enough kind of about yourself. So, what is the biggest misconception you think people have or people carry about finding joy in their daily life?
I think most people think that joy or happiness comes from external things, not so much from internal, but external. So if they get a new promotion at their job, they're happy and they go out and celebrate at a restaurant or a bar with family or friends. If something happens to come into their life that they don't expect, they got an unexpected check for $5,000, then they're
Mm,
happy. But the external things will never last. Everything in this world, in this universe, is based on change. So the inner worlds going inside ourselves, where it can be described as the ocean would be at times calm, but many times turbulent. We would see waves coming and going, storms coming and going. But deep down in the water, it's always calm under the surface. So we're trying to get to the point where our inner state, we could say below the surface of our body, inside, becomes peaceful and calm and quiet. And when we attain that place, the things that happen on the external, the waves on the surface, don't bother the fish 100 feet down or 1,000 feet down. So that's how I see joy, and where it's come to me is from that, getting to that place where external things don't affect me per se. And anybody can learn to do that, but you have to go inside yourself and ask some hard questions to get to that place.
that's interesting. Yeah, and so if it's not a reward waiting at the finish line, where does it actually start for someone who feels stuck in the grind?
Well, the starting point, and it really doesn't have so much to do with our age, but the
Okay.
starting point is when you start questioning whatever's happening in your life. When you go, it just, I'm not quite satisfied with what's going on around me. I don't necessarily buy in to what I'm being taught by society. That could come in your teen years, that could come in your 20s, your 30s, your 80s, or never. But one of the things I've found, unless you have an inquisitive mind, and I don't mean high intellect, I was never particularly a good student. As a matter of fact, the only time I got an A in all of college, which took me 6 years, by the way, in different schools, 3 different schools, I got one A in all of college. Back in high school, 80s, I was lucky if I ever got a 91 or a 92 on a report card. And that inner questioning, the curiosity is where it all starts. That's where it started for me.
Mm. So, I mean, obviously, it's kind of, I'd say, a necessary shift. We spend so much time optimizing our kind of for the outcomes that we forget the quality of days themselves. So, joy as something available right now, not later, that changes the entire game. So, yeah, I feel so. And
Oh,
yeah, please.
there's a book I picked up about a week ago, and I don't know how I heard of it, but it was called The Legacy of Luna.
Okay.
And it was a woman who was 22 years old. She got into a severe car accident. She was in the hospital being cared for, and took her a while to start to recoup. And she was then, I think at that time, 23, and some friends were going to go out to California. I believe she lived in Missouri, and kind of felt like while she was recouping in the hospital, she was kind of thinking of finding herself or what was my next, like, where am I going with my life? And she ended up hearing about tree sits in California. And she had never really heard of those, but long story short, she was volunteering to go sit up in a 1,000-year-old tree that they were going to cut down. And she ended up starting to think she was going to be there a couple weeks. When it was all said and done, she got so connected to the tree and to the life and to watching all the chainsaws around her being cut down, cutting down these old redwoods, that she just said, I can't abandon this tree. And she stayed up there for 738 days. And finally, when she came down, changes were made. The tree was protected. The area around it was protected. And that was her purpose, but if she didn't ask, like, where am I going with my life at 23 years old? Where would she have ended up? Who knows?
Correct. Correct. And like if you talk about our daily life, right? So for someone who is listening now who feels like they're always running on fumes. So how does this constant stress, this always on mentality kind of actually show up in the everyday moments? Like what do people miss because they are too busy managing everything?
Well, the first thing that I always share with people, if you don't have simplicity as a goal, you will never, ever get balance. You have to find a way, at least my experience was to have less and less and less, realizing that I didn't need a lot to be happy. When Julia was up in that tree, living on a platform 6 feet by 8 feet big, 150 feet off the ground for over 2 years and never came down. What did she have? She didn't have cars, had a radio, had a cell phone to communicate with the media and the ground crew, but she didn't have what everybody has. So all the things that we think we want, going out to dinners, going to movies, I listen to plenty of my friends and clients who will tell me they went on vacation. I personally, and this is not to speak for anyone else, don't have any interest in going on vacations. To go to Maui again, where I got married, or to travel the world, because most people who want to do that have some sense of emptiness inside. So they're looking for it externally. If it's not money, then it's women. If it's not women, it's a man who will take care of them. If it's not that, it's the bigger house. If it's not that, it's the bigger car. And there's no end to desires of the mind.
Mm.
The mind runs this world and it runs people. I find very few people that I know who are like Emerson and Thoreau were, living very simply, away from everyone to a large degree. And you can find a lot of peace when you're by yourself. You may then choose to go out among people. But if you're thinking you're going to get it by all the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, it's never going to happen.
So, and once someone starts recognizing those patterns, then what's the small shift they can make without blowing up their whole life overnight?
Well, everything starts gradually. I think most of us have heard the saying that kind of goes like 1,000-mile journey begins with a single step. So nobody gets where they're trying to go. I think of some of the professional golfers who are the top in the world, men or women, and how many years and years they spent paying the price to try to become the best in the world or good enough to make the tours. Doesn't matter if it's a basketball, a football player, tennis player, a chess player. It doesn't matter what the endeavor is. It's more a matter of taking the first step. But if you don't know where you're going, the first step is just in a random direction. It doesn't do any good. I did plenty of that in my life, thinking the next step, build the golf business, taking enough money to pay for this and pay. And eventually it led to kind of the emptiness was coming in that. And there was always this part of me that felt like I needed to serve and help people. Just keep serving, which is really what our meditation is about is serving people. And that to me is what my life is about now. It's not even about how much income might come from the book I've written, which will be out shortly. I have a feeling it's going to become incredibly large seller. But the only thing I think about is, what does that mean? It means that the more people that get that book in their hand, the more they can question their life and start to make shifts, all dependent on what they want, not what I want for them. I never say you should want this or you should want that. You should want the life I have. It works for me, but maybe somebody just learns to say, we don't need 2 cars, we only need 1. Or we don't need to go on vacation 4 times a year. Let's go once a year. There's a lot of ways you can look at your life, but you still have to question. You have to ask, and you have to delve introspectively to where this is all leading in my life.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. Like, they know something's off, but the idea of changing everything feels kind of impossible. Kind of starting small. That's where the real movement begins. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And there is something, I'd say, like, the hard part is like someone decides they want to make that shift. They start paying the attention. Maybe they feel some relief at first, but then life happens, old patterns come back. So, how do you keep going when the initial motivation fades and it just feels hard again?
Everybody goes through that. Key is to get clarity on what you want. Now, my little sister Stephanie was 17 and she had a talent for drama and acting and singing. And my dad had passed away. It would have been 8 years before. And she was 9, I believe. And then she's 17 and she wanted to go to Carnegie Mellon in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. And Carnegie Mellon was very expensive back in would have been 88, I believe, because she was born in 71. And my mom said, we can't afford that, Steffi. And she said, I'm going to go anyway. And she applied for grants. She got 5 different grants. 4 of them were relatively small, $1,000 a year, something like that. But Carnegie Mellon was about
$20,000
per year back in 1988. And who knows how much it is now, maybe double, triple, I don't know. And she went, she got an audition. Her voice, she lost the day before. She asked if she could have a second audition, and they allowed it. After her audition, they said, we're going to give you the Carnegie Fellowship Award, which was $15,000 a year for 4 years. And so Steph went. The key was she decided she wanted it. She got clear on it, clarity on what she wanted. And that's one of the chapters in the book, clarity. And then she had persistence. She said, I'm going to do this. So if we don't have certain skills that we've developed, anybody can develop them, anybody. And I will share something it was a quote that I found back several months ago when I was reviewing quotes for the book, because there's a tremendous number of powerful quotes in that book. But I'm going to read to you what this quote is. I am always doing that which I cannot do, and I keep it right next to me so I can look at it every day. I am always doing that which I cannot do, that I may learn how to do it. And that was from Picasso. Like most people, I would try something years ago and I would feel anxiety. I don't know how to do this. And I would always ask for help. I never worked through it. Now the same kind of thing happens. I don't freak out about it anymore. I just say, I don't know how to do this. I'll do it until I learn how to do it. Huge difference. Change in perspective. Anybody can learn to do it, but we have to love ourselves enough inside to not judge ourselves and think, oh, I can't do this. Listen to all the voices we might have heard during our entire lifetime. I didn't hear those kind of voices, but there's many people out there listening to your podcast who have heard those. Can't buy them, can't buy into them.
So, is there a moment that helps you when you catch yourself slipping back into that stress mode?
Usually when the stress mode comes, it's because there's too much going on. And one thing we have to realize is that we create, to a large degree, the things in our lives. Every time we say yes to something, we've taken on more responsibility. Every time we say no, we've cut things back. If somebody says to me, Mike, do you want to go play golf today? And I might enjoy that and take 4 hours or 5 hours to do it. and I say, no, I'm working on the book manuscript, or I appreciate it, but I'm going to XYZ, do this or do that. That's my control of my time now by my choices. If I just try to people please and say, okay, I'll go, then I'm giving up my sense of time, and time is limited 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we have to value ourselves enough to say, I want to do this for myself. I'm not saying everybody will be self motivated to do it. Maybe they need a friend who says, I don't do a lot of working out per se or exercising. My friend David, when we talked about it on the phone a week ago on Saturday, it would have been 4 days ago or 3 days ago, he said, I've really gotten off on like working with the dumbbells. And we both have dumbbells at home. And he immediately started doing it. He said, I did 3 reps today and I went for a walk. And I texted him back and said, I did 20 reps. I didn't go for a walk, but he probably is doing this every day. On the other hand, I'm like, I kind of see the dumbbells. Well, maybe I'll pick them up. Maybe I won't. I haven't gone for a walk in weeks. And so he has that, I'm going to do it. And he does it. So we kind of, we can text every now and then and support each other, but
Yeah.
never judge each other if we did something or didn't do it to our liking. So yeah, stress, everybody deals with it, but how you process it and how much you cut out of your life will decrease the stress level. It has to.
Exactly. That's amazing. That's really, really great. I mean, that's the work. I mean, not just about the transformation, but the choice that you make again and again. The returning. There's where the real change comes in. So amazing. So I mean, if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
The easiest way to connect with me is to go to my website for the book, the book is called Finding Joy in Daily Living, 72 Simple Ways to Create Lasting Peace in Your Life. But the web page is findingjoydaily.com. And there's all types of giveaways there. There's free handouts. There's sample chapters. If you want to read some of my sister Stephanie's story, her story is in there, part of it, excerpt from the book. There's all types of things that people can use as tools without even spending any money. They don't have to order the book. They can just go on and say, I'm going to read the chapter on gratitude under the chapter excerpts, or hope. And I think there's 6 different ones on there out of the 72 in the book. But that's the easiest way to find me. And if they want to text me or email me, all my contact information is on the website. So again, it's findingjoydaily.com.
Amazing. So dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put these links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. And I'll just say, I mean, joy is not just about waiting for you at the end of your to-do list. It is kind of woven into the moments you stop rushing through. So thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your perspectives and the great examples that you have added for better understanding. So thank you so much for sharing that. And to everyone who is listening, I hope that this conversation gave you the permission to ask yourself a different question. Like, not about what more I can achieve, but what am I missing while I'm chasing it? Sometimes the most radical thing we can do is just slow down long enough to notice what's already there. So I'll just say,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I'll just say, take care of yourselves. This is your host, Avik, and this is Mind Miss Machine. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.